It's March 19th, 2026, day 20 of Operation Epic Fury, and things got ugly in the Gulf when it comes to energy infrastructure. It looks like Iran launched ballistic missiles and drones at Qatar's Ras Laffan Industrial City. That's the world's biggest LNG, liquefied natural gas export hub, setting off massive fires across processing facilities and forcing partial evacuations. And they didn't stop there. Two drones hit key Kuwaiti oil refineries, Maina Al Ahmadi and Maina Abdullah, sparking fires and knocking production offline at a lot of these different facilities. This came after Israeli strikes hammered Iran's South Pars gas field. Those strikes were said to have been led by Israel, and then afterwards President Trump was like, hey, knock it off, no more strikes at the gas fields. Iran saw that as potentially crossing a line, and then they're doing a tit for tat. But then the US military responded extremely decisively, crushing more and more of the smaller boats, maybe the civilian type vessels that are actually military vessels that Iran is using to crowd and pressure the Straits of Hormuz. Likely many more ballistic missile strikes as well from the US. Again, Iran's missile production has been down by 90%, but that still leaves us with those pop shots that can hit energy infrastructure like this. So we see the US Navy now ramping up strikes. We see more ballistic missiles being struck, but as you can see, the job isn't done yet, and this is not just an overnight fix. And also, just yesterday, F-15Es dropped those brand new GBU-72 advanced 5K penetrator bunker buster bombs on hardened Iranian anti-ship missile sites, hugging the Iranian coastline near the Straits of Hormuz checkpoint to further pressure the IRGC to have to fully open the Straits of Hormuz. But as we can see from the strikes on the energy infrastructure in Qatar and Kuwait, Iran still has that ballistic missile capability to cause some pain on the energy infrastructure in the Middle East. But Iran thinks they can just sit here and escalate all day long. But the US is continuously, the military is continuously pounding these small ballistic missile locations. And again, they're detached. So it's a massive country. Checking out the map, 2.5 times the size of Texas. And this is where the strikes went into Qatar. So when we look and review the map, you can look and see how close everything is over there and how Iran could just basically wheel out one of these ballistic missile launchers, launch it, and then now they can strike the energy infrastructure. But it does show us that there's some C2, some command and control left, some last vestiges of some organization for the IRGC that's in control of these missiles. So while the US military is striking these naval vessels right now, we'll likely see them ramp up C2 strikes. And as we saw from some slides that were released from CENTCOM just yesterday, C2 command and control and IRGC infrastructure is still being hit. There's still a lot of these targets for the IRGC in Iran. That's why they still have some sort of command and control, and they're able to target that Gulf infrastructure. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see that ramp up with F-35s focus more on getting any information from any of these targeting systems that the IRGC is using to target in these different missiles. We've also seen loadouts from the different fighter jets in that area now focused on HARMs. Those are anti-radiation missiles. So it tells us that Iran does still have some sort of radar energy available with the IRGC, still potentially having the ability to use radars, use targeting systems. We saw an F-18 that was loaded out with HARMs and AMRAAMs and also a jamming pod, as well as an F-16CJ. The F-16CJ still gathering up, hoovering up as much of that targeting radar information as possible, and then trying to strike as well. Very similar to like what a Growler would do as far as electronic attack. But the CJ is something that's uniquely suited to strike against those surface-to-air missile radars or any other types of targeting systems that will likely be using radar. And then we saw the F-15Es. Those are loaded out with GBU-54s. And the reason why that's impressive is because the GBU-54 is a joint direct attack munition, but it's also a laser guided bomb as well at the same time. So it can do both. 6 500-pounders we've seen loaded out on the F-15E. and then a centerline 2,000-pound JDAM, as well as AIM-120s and also AIM-9Xs. Now, I'm actually surprised that we didn't see APKWS rockets on the actual F-15 itself, but likely the drone situation is being handled by other aircraft. Maybe there's specific F-16s that are being used to take down the drones, or A-10s as well. But as you can see, the US military surgically taking out more naval threats as well as more ballistic missile launchers. I mean, that has to ramp up before it slows down, with Iran being able to target energy infrastructure. The Strait hopefully won't stay blocked much longer because we have that MEU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, on its way, and Iran has a soft closure there where they're just closing the Strait to US shipping. So that needs to be fully opened up, pried open. So that's going to be one of the main things. If you can take that away from the Iran regime, and now they don't have that leverage, that's a huge domino where we'll likely see internal fracture within the regime itself. But they've still got this capability, so we can't discount the enemy, right? We have to plan ahead and take out their ability to target any of this energy infrastructure. Now, Iran is incredibly vulnerable when it comes to their energy infrastructure. As we've seen, their gas facility being struck, an Israeli strike taking that out. However, all of their ships could be struck as well. All of their energy flow could be stopped. But that's not really the point. So if we take out all of their energy infrastructure, all of their gas, in my opinion, that doesn't really change their ballistic missile stockpile. It doesn't change how many drones they actually have right now to enact chaos in the Straits. All it really does is just keep the oil from flowing to China, and that's probably not the best move. And the US knows that. And here's some breaking news happening right now after Tehran strikes. Trump says Israel won't attack Iran's gas fields anymore. That's coming from Axios. So again, kind of pulling back from the energy infrastructure strikes. President Trump said Wednesday that Israel will not conduct further attacks on Iran's main natural gas facility. Might be seen as an effort to try to de-escalate the situation, but likely this is happening because, again, the US administration doesn't want the world economy to suffer any more than it needs to while this operation is being finished up over the next few weeks or next few months. Right now, Brent crude looks like it's approaching $116 a barrel. So obviously that's a big deal. No one wants that, and people are going to feel it in their pocketbooks. And Iran knows that as well, right? Iran wants that leverage. And then Iran chimed in with some rhetoric as well. Imagine that. No one saw that coming, Iran. But they basically said that the US and Israel should call this Operation Epic Fear and not Operation Epic Fury, because they were basically taunting and saying, oh, the US doesn't have boots on the ground, so they must be afraid of coming into Iran. So look, Iran wants to pull the US into some sort of a Vietnam-style situation, but right now they're just continuously being pounded. So they are trying to taunt the US and say, shift your strategy, change things up. And that, to me, the reason why they're saying that is because these strikes are working. They're being systematically eliminated, and they want that to stop. They want the people in the US to feel the pain of a Vietnam-style occupation. So that's why I've been saying on this channel, I really hope we don't do a massive boots on the ground. Maybe some surgical boots, striking any of the key nodes that are shutting down the Straits of Hormuz, but then allowing the Iranian people themselves, the people that want freedom eventually, to stand up. I mean, they would need to be armed, they would need to have a strategy and be united under some sort of a uniting figure. But I don't think having massive amounts of boots on the ground is smart. And Iran knows that it's not smart to do that. I mean, that's just going to be a bit of a quagmire that the US doesn't need to go into, but Iran is obviously going to poke the bear and try to force the US into a situation that is not advantageous to the US. But Qatari Energy called the strikes here extensive damage after some follow-up waves. Civilian defense teams are fighting the blazes. It looks like the fires are under control, but that's going to be huge disruptions. Ras Laffan pumps out about 1/5 of global liquefied natural gas. In Kuwait, it looks like drones targeted the refineries there, igniting operational units. No casualties have been reported, but production has taken a hit as part of Iran's broader payback against Gulf states for hosting US assets, is what they say. They're saying that they'll target anyone who are hosting US assets. And this all ties back to the strikes they say on their South Pars field. And then this is being reported by News Nation. It says Trump may send thousands more troops to Middle East. Well, 2,500 Marines with the Marine Expeditionary Unit are obviously on their way there. It says President Donald Trump is reportedly considering sending thousands more American troops to the Middle East as the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran escalates. U.S. officials said the president and the administration are in a critical planning phase for the next phase of the war, which could include an increase in U.S. reinforcements. And then I wanted to comment on Iran's claim that they took out 5 KC-135 tankers. The stabs on these photos, I mean, some of them are old photos. They definitely look like AI to me. They just look very weird, like the stabilators on the back of the actual aircraft. They are shaped in a way that's like futuristic, and the KC-135, trust me, doesn't have futuristic wings on it. And then on this one photo that was released as well, it looks like a high wing. So they actually accidentally combined the KC-135 with the C-17. C-17 has more of that high wing. The KC-135 really doesn't. But they're trying to say that this was a KC-135 Stratotanker that was taken down at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. But it has a high wing and then some characteristics in the back like a KC-135. So again, this looks like pure AI to me. The Trump administration said there was some light damage to some of the tankers at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, but none of them were actually struck to the point where they couldn't be used again, and they're now being operationally flown again. So again, weird. Iran giving us AI. Yeah, we never saw that coming at all. Let's move to the 4D chess strategic analysis section. So right now, with Iran lashing back with these ballistic missiles, it highlights that the ballistic missile infrastructure needs to continuously be hit to avoid any type of more disruptions in the global oil supply or liquefied natural gas supply. Iran's in their last-ditch moves, in my opinion. They're also potentially putting some mines in the straits, so midget subs potentially still active. So again, having a lamprey type targeting system where you have those lampreys underwater to target any of their mini subs, combined with anti-mining aircraft or anti-mining drones that are up ahead the Straits of Hormuz, protecting it as well, prioritizing those high-value oil tankers that hopefully will be able to flow through the straits here from Western nations soon. But the Navy has been gutted, and now it's asymmetric proxy warfare, and the denial, in my opinion, will continue to crumble day after day after day. But this isn't an easy solution that we can snap our fingers and have done. Likely the outcome here, if the US keeps degrading the ability of Iran to threaten free navigation, at that point, we could start to see the inner regime itself start to crumble. So the US has to play 4D chess here. Strike Eagles, a Marine Expeditionary Unit, F-16s, taking down any type of surface structures that could be providing C2, command and control, and then those F-35s teaming up with everybody, pumping out any type of energy and information that could help target any of those command nodes that are targeting the ballistic missiles themselves. Now, some of those ballistic missiles could have pre-planned coordinates, but it looks like some rudimentary ability of them to be targeting now and doing a tit for tat. So obviously at this point, got to take out the ballistic missiles to put Iran into checkmate and keep them from being able to lash back out. So that means completely crushing the shoreline along the Straits of Hormuz, B-2 stealth bombers focusing in and targeting on command and control and any ability of Iran to target those ballistic missiles. One of the problems with the ballistic missiles, though, is they can target detached. So they don't have to be tuned in to a network. They're probably using some sort of rudimentary targeting system. And as long as they hit within 100 yards, they can still do damage. And again, they're shooting 10 and maybe 2 or 1 of those will get through. But the 31st MEU, Marine Expeditionary Unit, is about to roll into the area with their amphibious ships to potentially secure beaches, hit key terminals with air cover. They've got F-35Bs that could be rolling in, hitting key terminals that could be used to target ballistic missiles, and you team that up with lampreys, and now you've got the ability of the US military to fully take down anything threatening the Straits of Hormuz. Within weeks, we could see the straits open back up, but at this point, obviously the ballistic missiles, you can't sleep on those. You got to make sure those are being targeted as well. So obviously some challenges, right? You got to adapt and adjust as you see what the enemy does. So over these next few days, we'll see how the US retaliates to these actual strikes on the energy infrastructure and what the US could do to keep the ballistic missiles from hitting energy. So there you go, guys. A recap of day 20. We intercepted most of their missiles going in to try to strike these energy infrastructure sites in Qatar, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. But a few got through. F-15Es are striking ship missiles, anti-ship missiles with GBU-72s, over 130 vessels down. But as we can see, lots more vessels that Iran could use as basically little mini suicide vessels. So what happens next in the Straits of Hormuz as the 31st MEU Marine Expeditionary Unit arrives? Let me know your comments. Would love to hear what you think. Go ahead and follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'm posting there pretty much every day. And when you subscribe to the channel, make sure to turn the bell on so you're notified when I drop a new video. Click the link in the description, join the Max Ready Room. I do lives and priority replies to anyone who joins the Max Ready Room. So I'll see you there on the lives. And then I'll catch you on this next video that pops up right here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, signing off.